Welcome to this lecture series on vibrations. In today's lecture, we will be covering linear algebra, which will help us in representing structures with multiple degree of freedom. We encounter vectors in physics where they are used to represent entities like force, displacement, which have both magnitude and direction. In 2 and 3 dimensions, vector can be described as arrows. For example, in 2D, we need two coordinates to describe a vector which has its tail at the origin. We normally use an independent basis of system to represent vectors. For example, in 2D plane, we can use two unit vectors in the I and j direction and represent any vector as a linear combination of these two bases. We can add two vectors to get another vector. Here we can see that by changing the ith and jth direction unit vectors, different linear combinations, we can get any vector in this two-dimensional plane. This is possible only because the bases are independent. It is intuitively easy to work with 2D and 3D vectors which represent physical entities like force and displacement. In abstract mathematics, we can utilize these concepts to fields like optimization, where we have n dimensional vectors, but they still follow the same rules. One example of a higher dimensional vector can be seen in this cantilever experiment. This 9-dimensional vector is used to define the spatial displacement field which this structure vibrates in. This we shall later see is one of the mode-shaped vectors called the eigenvector for the respective eigenfrequency. Now let's see some properties of vectors. When two vectors are added, we get another vector. So vectors in addition follow the property of closure. Vector addition is commutative. There is a zero vector which is the identity element, and we shall see why it's called the identity element. When we add a zero vector to a vector, we get the vector back. This is very similar to this particular operation here in matrices, where I is the identity matrix, and when we multiply any vector with an identity matrix, we get that matrix back. We also have an additive inverse. So when we have a binary in the binary operation of addition, when we add these two vectors, we get a zero vector. Vector addition is also associative, and there is a scalar multiplication which is defined. Now that we have defined vectors, we are ready for matrices. Matrices can be seen as transformations applied on vectors similar to functions in real space, like the operation of derivative can take the function x square from x square to 2x. In similar fashion, matrices takes vectors in two-dimensional space or three-dimensional space or n-dimensional space to a vector respectively in 2, 3, or n dimensional space. Some of these transformations, like the inverse, rotation, shear, are important for the study of vibration, and now we shall try to understand them. Consider a two-dimensional vector. If we multiply this with a 2 by 2 matrix transformation, we get a new vector. One way to look at this operation is the column picture, in which the columns of this 2 by 2 transformation are vectors themselves, and by multiplication we mean a linear combination to get a new vector. Another way to look is to observe that the transformation actually acts on the independent basis vectors of the original vector. So any transformation in reality acts on the two bases and transforms the vector in the two-dimensional space. One such transformation is magnification and shear transformation. Matrices owe their inception to the solution of linear equations. The whole branch of algebra for that was discovered to solve equations like shown. A simple substitution gives us the solution to this set of equations. In matrix notation, same can be written, and we find the solution by multiplying both sides by the inverse of this transformation matrix. If we see this problem geometrically, we observe that these two equations are nothing but equations of a line in two-dimensional space, and solution to this set is just the intersection. For the matrix picture, we can observe that both column vectors of this matrix are mutually independent, and hence a solution exists. If these had equal slopes, then we would have these lines parallel to each other, and there would have been two observations. The determinant of this matrix would have been 0, and either a no solution or infinitely many solutions would have existed if these two lines would have overlapped each other. In the previous slide, we just saw an application of inverse matrices as a transform. We solved a set of linear equations in that example. Like any well-defined function, an inverse matrix transformation is a rule defined for vectors. I hope you understand this fact with the help of this example. We know that a mirror, when forming an image, transforms the object in a particular fashion. Let's assume mirror 1 to be a transformation defined by matrix A, the pixels of this object, as a set of vectors V, and the other mirror as A inverse. The image formed in the first mirror can be defined as A multiplied by the vector V, and we can observe that the image is inverted in a particular fashion. On the other hand, image formed in the other mirror inverts this first transformation back to the original image. This is just an example of how inverse matrix can be visualized. In representing multiple degree of freedom system, we often encounter symmetric matrices. If we write the equation of motion for the two masses, we arrive at the set of two equations which can be written in a compact matrix vector form as shown. We observe here that both the mass and stiffness matrix are symmetric. Later on, when we study about modal analysis, we will find out that symmetric matrices from spectral theorem have a very useful property that they can be diagonalized. One of the most commonly used matrix transformation in the field of engineering is of the rotation matrix. As you can see in this animation, application of the rotation matrix on a vector causes pure rotation about the origin. We shall now see how we arrive at a rotation matrix. Consider these two frames of references ij, I hat j hat, where the red frame of reference is rotated by an angle theta. The coordinates x, y, when seen from the rotated frame, can be derived using simple geometric relationship. We can see that x hat is equal to OA AB plus BC. OA is nothing but x cos theta. AB and BC can be seen that are equal to BE sin theta plus BC sin theta. And in similar fashion, we can derive y hat. In matrix notation, we can write this set of equation as follows and observe that this particular matrix is the rotation matrix. Before we move on to the topic of eigenvalue and eigenvectors, I would like to discuss some properties of vector spaces. We saw earlier that we can use the two basis unit vectors to get any vector in the two-dimensional, three-dimensional or n-dimensional space. The trick is to use the linear combination of these two vectors. But can any two vectors, for example in two dimension, achieve this? This ability is measured by the span of a set of vectors. Any two-dimensional set of vectors, if they are mutually independent, can span the two-dimensional vector space completely. We can observe from the second example where u1 and u2 are two vectors and x1 and x2 are scalars. Both the vectors span the same direction. That is, they lie over each other, and any linear combination, the new vector will lie on the same line, which follows the direction represented by these two vectors. We can also observe that the determinant of this matrix is 0. Up till now, we have seen that how different types of matrices originate from set of equations which describe different phenomena in physics. A matrix, for the purpose of this course, should be viewed as a transformation for a vector. For a matrix transformation, eigenvectors are special as under transformation they don't rotate, they maintain their direction and are just scaled by a scalar value called the eigenvalue. In this animation, we have taken three vectors. The two vectors in red are the eigenvectors of this transformation, while the blue vector is just any arbitrary vector. In every iteration, we multiply the vector by the same transformation. We can observe that the eigenvectors remain unrotated and are just scaled by a value, while the blue vector is rotated as well as scaled. Eigenvectors and eigenvalues were first discovered by solving a set of differential equations as shown. Here we have used compact matrix notation to show this. In equation like these, where the derivative of a function is equated with a scaled multiple of the function itself, a trial solution of the form y of t equal to exponential lambda t x, where x is a vector, can be assumed. When put in the equation, we can see that the exponential term vanishes and we get an equation famously called as the eigenvalue equation. Now for the vector x to lie in the null space, the determinant of a minus lambda I has to be 0 for a non-trivial solution. We can visualize the effect of eigenvalue on the span of the column vectors of this particular matrix. We can see as the value of lambda approaches the eigenvalue of this particular matrix, the column vectors of the matrix become dependent. We can see the area of this parallelogram, which is originally formed by these two vectors, becomes 0. And we know that in two-dimensional vector space, the determinant of a matrix can be visualized as the area of the parallelogram formed by the vectors which lie in the column space of the matrix. Similar to eigenvectors and eigenvalues, which relate to displacements and frequencies in multiple degree of freedom systems, in the case of continuous structures, we respectively have eigenfunctions and eigenvalues. One such continuous system is shown in this experimental setup, which will be used later on in this lecture series to find out the modal parameters of this cantilever beam. All these modal parameters, including damping, can be experimentally ascertained by sampling structural response via sensors like accelerometer, laser vibrometers, and inductive proximity sensors. In this initiative, we have a number of other workshops presented in both English and Hindi language. For more such content, please contact us and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.